The Amish evolved from the Anabaptist movement that erupted in Europe in 1525 during the Reformation period. Anabaptist simply means to rebaptize. The idea came from three young men who rejected the Catholic practice of baptizing babies not long after birth. They believed that only an adult could make the decision to become a follower of Jesus Christ, and therefore a person should be baptized only as an adult. On January 21st, 1525, the leader of this group, Conrad Grebel, performed the first recorded adult baptism. It wasn't until 1693, over 100 years later, that the Amish were founded by Jacob Ammon in Germany. He believed that the Mennonites, one of the first groups to evolve from the Anabaptist movement, were too progressive. He opted for a stricter, more regulated lifestyle, and thus created the Amish. During the 1700s, the Amish began to immigrate to the United States in search of religious freedom. After settling into the areas of eastern Pennsylvania and Ohio, they wrote to the Amish in Germany for advice on how to conduct church business. Their answer to the Amish Americans was the development of the Ordnung from 1765 to 1766. Ordnung is a German word meaning order or discipline. The Amish Ordnung is a set of unwritten, scripturally based rules used to guide their everyday Christian life. It is the foundation of the Amish's religious lifestyle. The Ordnung dictates the way that the church conducts services, specifies which technological innovations are not permitted, and defines the relationship between the local community and general society. Families in the Amish community take turns holding church services in their homes. The men and women sit on opposite sides of the room, facing one another, and the preacher stands in the middle to deliver his message. Bishops, ministers, and deacons are appointed by drawing lots. The Amish believe that in this way, God does the choosing. These men are not paid for their services and hold their positions for life. As mentioned before, the Amish base their feelings of technology on the Ordnung. They select certain technologies based on whether they will benefit the community socially, spiritually, and financially. For this reason, they reject the use of radios, television, and the internet in homes. They believe that these technologies are hindrances, and they are contradictory to the Christian message. The Amish do not drive cars and instead opt for a horse and buggy, but they do operate certain farm machinery, usually with the aid of animals. The Ordnung also promotes the idea of boundaries between the Amish community and the rest of the world in order to maintain tradition. One of the most evident ways the Amish do this is by remaining plain or simple. They believe children of God should be separate from the world, which is based on Scripture in Romans, 1 Peter, and 1 John. In order to be plain, they dress in simple, modest, solid-colored clothing. The women wear dresses, and the men wear white shirts and blue trousers. Amish women also wear a cap or covering on their head. The meaning behind the wearing of the covering is quite complex. It symbolizes God's all-inclusive order of authority, and also the idea that men are to provide leadership and women are to submit. Brenda M. Weaver, an Amish woman, enjoys wearing her head covering because it is a visible symbol of her acceptance of God's order of authority. It honors God and man, it is a form of spiritual protection, and it reminds her that she is a child of God. Striving to be simple and plain by wearing similar dress is also a way of promoting uniformity within the Amish community. The Amish believe uniformity is important because of the scripture in Philippians 3:16. Nevertheless, whereto we have already attained, let us walk by the same rule, let us mind the same thing. The Amish reject individuality and self-will in order to maintain spiritual well-being. They are a collective community and believe in working together to accomplish things such as barn raisings, which take place in one day. A significant religious practice that has governed the Amish life since its birth is non-resistance. This idea was taken from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. The Amish believe that evil should be returned with good. Because of this, the Amish refuse to bear arms. This practice of non-resistance caused the Amish to suffer persecution in the early years. During World War II, the Amish, as well as other Anabaptists, were pressured to take up arms. When Amish men were drafted and refused to fight, they were imprisoned at Alcatraz and tortured by being hung from their wrists and forcibly having to run for hours in freezing temperatures. These men eventually died of pneumonia. When their wives came to claim their bodies, they were found lying in caskets dressed in army uniforms. The Amish have come a long way since their early years of persecution. Although they are a group of people that believe in maintaining tradition, they make changes when they feel it is necessary. They still practice farming, but also work in shops and factories when farmland isn't available. But the Amish hold on to their cherished values by living by the acronym JOY, which stands for Jesus first, others second, and yourself last.